You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. It's time to look at the papers. Dan Sodergren is a digital marketing and technology expert and is here to tell us what's caught his eye. Good morning.
Hi, morning.
What a week.
What a week,
What a
indeed.
weekend in terms of papers. And you know, no surprise, we'll be looking at the front pages. They're focusing very much on what's happening in Nice and, of course, what's happened overnight. We'll just go through the front pages. Now, the Daily Mail, look at this. This image of the empty buggies, so poignant, and we've been hearing eyewitness accounts this morning, of course, of people talking about how parents have lost their children. We understand at least 10 children among the 84 who are dead.
Let's look at the newspaper this morning. Their headline, Innocence Lost, and another of these very traumatic, upsetting images on the front pages of the paper. The Guardian, it's the Mirror there, massacre of the innocents, again concentrating on the loss of young life on the streets of Nice on Thursday evening.
And as we mentioned, of course, the military coup overnight in Turkey, that's hit the front page of The Guardian, saying it's plunged the country into chaos.
You've got to feel sorry for the papers having to deal with that because it was all happening so late and changing overnight, the situation in Turkey, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And we'll talk about that throughout the programme as well. But Dan, of this awful atrocity, it's disgusting atrocity, and innocent lives lost. You've picked a story, a human story, a good tale.
A lovely tale, really, because I think that's one of the powers of social media is that actually it can, and digital stuff, it really can not only bring people together but can really help people as well. So this is a story of a child that they thought was been lost, but actually has now been found because of a Facebook appeal. So I think it's a brilliant story. You know, one of the rays of hope that can come out of this is that people can come together.
I'd seen this actually on social media, and you do think you always wonder if anything is going to come of this, and it's nice that there is a conclusion to this. And it was a baby who became separated, and the mother obviously frantically looking for this baby, but it was found.
Put it out on Facebook and then posted it out. And because people can share things, of course, and we can collaborate, one of the powers of digital, and really, really quickly as well, this baby was found. So a really positive story.
And also, Dan, we've talked about some of the images. We saw some on the front pages, deeply troubling photographs, which are just horrific, some of them to view. But also the way in which art is being used, the images that people are creating, either cartoons or just some of them, just very simple, beautiful pictures online. I suppose that you'd say, again, as a digital expert, that's a way in which the internet allows a different kind of reaction these days when these tragedies occur.
Absolutely, and I think, again, that's one of the powers of digital, and certainly the powers of social media, is it's like the positive side of things. So I think the Nice attacks and the hashtags that have been used all the time, that can show our solidarity with France, and does so really quickly, as you say. The artwork is beautiful, and therefore that's a nice contrast to some of these horrific images. One of my biggest fears with this, unfortunately, is that by people sharing these horrific images, actually they are helping broadcast this message out there. And I think that the negative side of it's really, really worrying, and people thinking they're doing, I don't know, almost helping out by putting this stuff and making it go viral. I think it's actually doing the opposite.
What, in terms of the photographs and the real video, not the art?
Yeah, absolutely. The artwork is the positive side of it. You know, this is the sharing of sympathy, and I think that's the only emotion we should be showing here. It's sympathy. And I think someone who said the opposite was Piers Morgan, of course, when he was famously going out now on Twitter and saying we shouldn't be doing hashtags anymore. You know, time for sympathy. It's actually something he wants to do something a lot more visceral. You know, but I think that actually doesn't help anyone. I think that's a little bit irresponsible.
And a lot of people were saying yesterday that, because of the internet, the way we don't necessarily have much filtering or warning, people were seeing things that they never expected to see, images, video, that they were watching live streaming and just being subjected
and just
to
instantly into the horror of what it is. And of course, as a terrorist act, the idea is to perpetrate this terror and this fear, and people unwittingly were most probably helping that cause, unfortunately, without thinking about it. And as you say, people didn't know that we were going to be watching that, and all of a sudden, they were seeing all these images. And I think sometimes we've got to be a little bit careful of what we are clicking on, and certainly what we're sharing on Twitter and Facebook.
Another event that completely shocked us as a country that this could happen here was the murder or killing of Jo Cox. And one of the things that was very poignant, I think, on the day that the news was coming through that she had been killed was the reaction of her husband and what he spoke about and what she would have wanted. And that statement came out very quickly as he tried to calm emotions,
yeah,
really.
Exactly. And Brendan Cox is a tremendous man, and I wish I was of half the guy that he is. he's managed to go onto Twitter and actually said really, really positive things, not only about the situation, but also the Nice as well, the Nice attack. He actually went out, on the day of the funeral and said, Joe would ask us not to fight hate with hate, but draw together to drain the swamp that extremism breeds in, thinking all the victims of hatred today. And that's an amazing thing to be able to say. And he managed to do that, of course, on Twitter very, very quickly. And that's, that's tied into things like the hashtag More in Common and Love Like Joe. And they are really powerful hashtags that maybe we should be broadcasting and talking about.
And the Times has picked up on the money raised online from the public.
Yeah, so again, because of the positivity of hashtags like Love Like Joe and More in Common, they've managed to raise £1.5 million from this tragedy. So that's one of the things where I think that, social media can help.
OK. Dan, we're going to talk to you a little later and go through the papers. Thank you so much. Amazing how you're tying to social media and the use of social media into how we're all reacting to tragic events of recent weeks.
And we've seen it again with Turkey overnight, haven't we? We'll talk about that a bit later, about all the information coming through. But let's stay with what's been happening in Nice, because vigils have been held right across France and around the world overnight to remember the 84 people who were killed in Nice on Thursday.
Now, in London, the French flag was flown at half-mast over Downing Street, while flowers were laid at French embassies throughout Europe.
Well, breakfast, Tim Moffat is in Nice for us this morning on the Promenade des Anglais, where the attack happened. Tim, just explain where the truck ended up compared with where you